When I was in high school, I was a short-distance runner on the track team. And I was an avid sportsman who practiced after school closed at night. However, I did not stay at school to practice, but ran along the roads around my house. One of the best places to practice was on the sidewalk of a bridge about 100 meters long. It was a good place to practice the 100-meter dash, which was impossible in a residential area. However, the bridge had an unlucky problem: suicide. The bridge was about 30 meters high to cross the river, and there were few street lights. It was a perfect place for suicide jumpers. In fact, flowers were often placed at the midpoint of the bridge, which seemed to be a jumping-off point. I was passionate about running faster than the speed at which the suicides were going to the other side. I used the bridge for practice. I would rather patrol the bridge to prevent suicides from happening. I was so enthusiastic about it that I was determined not to let any suicides happen. One day, however, I came across a strange sight. A girl in a white one-piece dress was running along the sidewalk of the bridge at night. A ghost? But she has legs. As I looked on quizzically from a distance, I saw several figures ahead of the girl as she finished her run. Some carried square equipment, some held up spear-like sticks, some held lights. Filming a movie or something. It was a film production site of a student-like group. However, the behavior of these people was not what one would expect. That's a nuisance. But you can't touch it. That's okay, let's just throw it away. I think they were saying something to that effect. One of the members walked up to the midpoint of the bridge, picked up something, and threw it into the river. Oi oi oi, that place. A strange silence enveloped the area. Not daring to complain to the older group, I went to the midpoint of the bridge after they left. Sure enough, the flowers that were there yesterday were gone, vase by vase. What the hell have they done? In many ways, I was appalled. The next day, I went to the field to buy some flowers in place of the ones I had thrown away. I decided to leave some wildflowers in place of the discarded ones, and headed for the bridge. What the hell? I exclaimed the moment I arrived at the bridge. On the sidewalk of the bridge, which was tinted with the color of a purple dusk, was a place where flowers are always placed. And in that place, a large bouquet of flowers was placed. No, it would be more accurate to say that they were piled up in a heap. They were about the size of 2 large garbage bags. In addition, all of the bouquets were brown and withered, but the pure white wrapping paper that held them together was unusually fresh and looked eerily familiar. It looked eerily new to my eyes. Obviously, these were not fresh dried flowers. Was it an act of a bereaved family, outraged at the abandonment of the flowers last night? In any case, I was horrified and quickly put down the wild flowers I had gathered and quickly left the place. After walking for a while, I looked back at the bridge from a distance. At that moment, I noticed something strange. A hand? There was a whitish stick-like object ending from the gap between the bridge railing and the sidewalk of the bridge. If that were a human arm, it would be. It is hanging and holding on to the outside of the bridge, reaching toward the sidewalk and trying to crawl up. A person attempting suicide? No, that's not a person. It was my intuition. I braced myself for it, and the next moment, as I stared into its eyes. No. O-N. A woman's voice sounded languid. Her long hair, which had become like seaweed when it was covered in water, made her long hair, which had become covered in water and looked like seaweed, made a sound and came out of the gap between the parapet and onto the sidewalk. Her head was also coming up. Her face. I can see it. Just as I was about to look away, there was a moment. This time, a pale, human-like head, covered with long hair, came out. It grabbed the wildflower I had placed in my hand, gulped it into its mouth, and slurped. It grabbed my hand, hair, and head, and pulled me to the back side of the bridge. The gap between the parapets is too wide for a human head to fit through. A pale head was slipping through the gap, deforming itself. The next thing I knew, I was running home with a speed that would surely break the school's record for fastest time. Oh man, it was a good thing I had really worked on my leg strength. The next morning, my mother told me not to go back to that bridge. I thought, Mom, you're psychic? I was surprised and asked her why. She said, Mr. XX, a neighbor of that bridge, saw something burning on the bridge last night. She said, it might be the work of a crazy person like an arsonist, so don't go there by yourself anymore. What was this something that was on fire? I told my mother about the dead bouquet of flowers I saw yesterday. I told her about the dead bouquet I saw yesterday. Then the bouquet was on fire. But that would make the story crazy. As far as the mother could tell, the flames had been burning for several hours last night. The flames were seen burning on the bridge for several hours last night. I wondered how a dead flower could burn for that long. I wondered, and decided to go to the bridge again on my way home from school that day. I was too scared to do it alone. With one of my clubmates involved, we rode our school bicycles together to the site. We arrived at the bridge. The time of day was almost the same as the day before, and the area was dimly lit. Hey, don't go any further. I called out to my friend, who was driving, to stop the bicycle about 20 meters away from the midpoint of the bridge. It is dangerous to approach suddenly. I don't want to come to such a suicide spot even if you don't tell me. My friend was always a bit timid by nature. I'm sorry, he said, but I think something was burning around there. Do you see anything? I pointed to the point. My friend and I stared into the dim darkness. Before we knew it, the wind started blowing. That halfway point? Moro, there's something down there. Oh my God, that's disgusting. What's that white stuff? It was probably a white piece of paper the size of a magazine, placed in a row along the sidewalk of the bridge. It's strange. They are fluttering in the wind, but they stay where they are and don't fly away. My friend and I unintentionally walk up to them. Blank white paper? It looks like the wreckage of the bouquet wrapper we saw yesterday. When we got a few meters closer to the paper, we realized why the paper had not been blown away. The paper was nailed to the ground. On the ground of the sidewalk. It was a strange sight. My friend and I were astonished. This piece of paper has something drawn on it, doesn't it? My friend said, indeed, every time the paper fluttered, we could see something drawn on the surface where it lay on the ground. I was so far gone. I boldly peeled off the paper from the nail, turned it over, and looked at the back. There was a bright red handprint. In the center of the white paper, a handprint as small as a baby's was smeared with a red color. In the center of the handprint was a hole with a nail through it. What is this? My friend had already removed several other sheets of paper from the nail and was looking at them. This one also has a handprint and a footprint, and a strange drawing. The same small bright red handprint, and a footprint and a bird. It was an ancient mural-like painting composed of simple red lines. There was a nail hole in the bird's eye. A woman's head was screaming on the parapet at her feet. A strange, long, thin, deformed, pale woman's head was caught in the gap of the parapet, and she was screaming with her mouth wide open. Covered by her long, wet hair, nothing could be seen except for her mouth. Her teeth were unusually white. Her torso hung slackly on the outside of the parapet. "Oh my God!" we exclaimed. The woman's head appeared between me and my friend, so we both ran away as fast as we could in opposite directions. We left our bicycles unattended to the edge of the bridge. No sign of anyone chasing us. No screams. I stopped and called my friend on his cell phone. "Did you get away? Did you get away okay?" My friend responds, breathing hard. "I'm fine." What the hell was that? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? My friend was panicked by the fact that he had left his bicycle at the scene and that he would have to cross the bridge again to get home. Since his home was the opposite direction from where he had fled, he was very nervous about the fact that he had left his bike at the scene and that he would have to cross the bridge again to get home. The clock on his cell phone read 8 o'clock. It was dark on the other side of the bridge, and he could not see his friend. And I couldn't see my friend's condition. "Okay, I'll call for help. I'll lie and say your bike is broken and call your parents or friends and ask them to bring a car. I'll try." "No. Come and get me." I pacified my friend, hung up my cell phone, and dialed my mother. No connection, or even a ring. I checked the screen. The screen showed out of range. What? Then why did I just now with my friend? This time, I received a call from my friend. "What's this new experience zone? Hello?" Screaming. It's not my friend's voice. I take my ear away from the receiver. The woman's screams continue. The woman's scream is too long for a normal person's lung capacity to continue. She realizes that her friend is not safe. Damn it. If I don't get to my friend right now, I'll never get her back. It may be too late. I hang up the phone as the screams continue to echo. I ran to my friend on the other side of the bridge. I don't want to go by the parapet, so I sprint down the middle of the roadway, not the sidewalk. I was afraid that something might be lurking in the deep darkness between the few streets. And I felt like I was going crazy with fear as I ran. As I approached the halfway point of the bridge, a black shadow approached me from the darkness in front of me at a great speed. I was so scared that I forgot about saving my friend. I instantly forgot about saving my friend and dashed back the way I came. What is that shadow? How many surprise attacks did it make? Oh, 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 oh. I hope this is the last time I will ever experience tears, snot, and urine while running. The shadows are still following me and I can hear their footsteps. But, hey, why are you running away? I hear my friend's voice from behind me. The shadow was in fact my friend. It was long past curfew, so he was scared, but he had no choice but to come running this way. He said, "No, you called me earlier and asked me to come over, and you were out of range." He answered and screamed. When I answered, you screamed. This time it was my turn to be extremely nervous. The phone. It's in my bag, in the basket of my bike. Was this guy trying to scare me in a situation like this? My friend answered with a suspicious look on his face. What? If that's the case, then, the person I was talking to, who I thought was my friend, was. Then we walked home together. I felt sorry for my friend who had lost his bike and was walking side by side with me, smelling of piss. We were too tired to talk to each other. I think to myself as I walk down the street at night, what if? What would have happened to me if I had crossed the bridge? I almost pissed my pants again, but I had already run out of piss. Hey, has that bridge always had a bad rumor or history? Later, I asked my grandfather, who knew a lot about local geography and history. He said, "Oh, this is the area around there." He bent his thumb and held out 4 fingers. Four-legged. Did you all know that there used to be people of that status? Well, there still are. What kind of work did these people do back then? Four-legged. In other words, besides working with livestock for food, the main job in my region was picking gravel from the river banks. Good quality river gravel is bought at a high price by construction companies. Naturally, there were some people who were willing to put in their back-breaking efforts to pick up gravel. However, at that time, there was not even a dam, and the river bed was so rough that many people drowned throughout the year. Later, when a dam was built and the water level stabilized, bridge was built. This is what my grandfather told me. But there was one thing that was even more eerie. A mysterious piece of paper I picked up on the bridge that day. My friend and I had unknowingly brought it home with us, stuffed in our pockets. We both burned the paper and lightly sprinkled salt on the front door and room of our house. Now, there's nothing particularly unusual or I don't even know if what Grandpa was talking about had anything to do with this strange phenomenon on the bridge. Anyway, my friend and I never went to that bridge again except by car.